the Wild Harvest Report, a monthly food first snapshot of the wild season across North America. You will hear about what's open, what's realistic, and what's worth paying attention to right now, shaped by weather, migration, ecology, and of course, your kitchen. Now, over to your host, Adam Berkelmans.
Hey folks, welcome to the Wild Harvest Report. I'm Adam Berkelmans, and this is the first episode of our monthly Food First Field Bulletin, covering what's broadly in season across the United States and Canada, whether it's hunting, fishing, or foraging, along with a few seasonal reminders that are easy to miss. This report covers February 2026, and we'll be breaking it down by region, moving across the country and north into Canada to highlight patterns, opportunities, and limitations that matter this time of year. Before we get into it, though, a few important notes up front. This podcast is not a substitute for regulations. Seasons, methods, quotas, and access rules vary by state, province, zone, unit, and sometimes even by day. Always verify current regulations directly with official sources like state wildlife agencies in the U.S., provincial and territorial ministries in Canada, and federal agencies for migratory birds and marine fisheries. We deliberately avoid social media summaries and third-party rumor sites here, so if you're listening to this, use it as a starting map, not as a legal document. Also worth noting, February is a month where weather, snow, ice, and access conditions can change fast. Local knowledge and good judgment matter just as much as what's technically open. All right, let's break this down region by region. As always, we'll start in the southeast, where February feels a lot less like winter and a lot more like opportunity. So we're talking down in Florida, Virginia, Carolinas kind of area. Weather and conditions are going to be mild to cool. Cold snaps are possible, but generally are short-lived. You're not going to have to worry about too much snow, except maybe in the Appalachian Mountains. But we will see water temps dropping. When this happens, fish stack up in tidal creeks, in some deeper waters, and in warm water outflows. So watch out for those areas for fishing. In terms of saltwater, we're looking at redfish, speckled trout. They're both active on especially warming afternoons. Sheephead peak around structures, so make sure you're fishing around structures. Nearshore grouper closures vary, so always check your regs when it comes to grouper. Everything really. In terms of freshwater, largemouth bass pre-spawn movement begins in late February, while the crappie are staging in deep to shallow transitions. So we're seeing them move right now. Coming to hunting, we have late archery and primitive deer open in parts of Virginia and the Carolinas. Rabbits and squirrels are generally open in these areas. Coyotes are open year-round in most states. And in terms of wild hogs, Florida and parts of the Carolinas, it's an ongoing opportunity. There's always wild hogs to be had. We're getting into foraging. Greens are beginning in late February in Florida. So they're seeing kind of some of the first spring greens popping up in February. We're not going to see them in Canada until maybe April or May. But keep your eye out for things like chickweed, wild mustard, bittercress. They're all popping up or are held over from last year. No major mushrooms to report quite yet. If we slide a little further west and deeper into the south, the patterns stay pretty similar, but the scale changes. So we're talking about bigger river systems, a lot more wild pigs running around, and some of the last meaningful kind of deer opportunities you're going to get for this season. So looking at Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas general area, we're going to be seeing cold mornings but warm afternoons in February. Watch out for flooding. It's very possible in river bottoms. Getting into freshwater fishing, the catfish are active in deep holes right now. The crappie are starting to stage. This is a good time to get out. In terms of saltwater, looking mostly at Louisiana here, you can find redfish in marsh ponds, and black drum are going to be found on structure currently. We have some late archery and primitive archery open in Alabama and Arkansas for deer, but in terms of wild hogs, it's a prime time. We got cooler temperatures, less pressure on them. This is a great time to go wild hog hunting where laws permit it. Coyotes and bobcats are generally open, as are squirrels and rabbits this time of year. Getting into foraging, we're looking at early spring gains in the southern zone, kind of the same ones. We can get a little bit of cypress cones, pine needle tea, some of those winter forageables that aren't too exciting but are still kind of fun. We're not seeing any mushrooms or any big things yet. Moving south and west into Texas, Oklahoma kind of area. February is really a variable month. We get cold fronts rolling in through really fast, and replaced by warm fronts. So knowing when to sit tight and when to move is what really matters right now, this time of year, especially with this very highly variable weather. In terms of fishing on the Texas coast, redfish and speckled trout in the deeper channels. Freshwater, we're looking at pre-spawn for bass in late February, and the catfish are just kind of always consistent. Wild hogs year-round. February is one of the best months to hunt these for the same reasons. It's generally nice and cool, a little less pressure, get-out hog hunting. Once again, coyotes are open. Deer are mostly closed, except there's a couple hyperlocal specialty seasons around and some of the high fence areas for foreign kind of deer. But generally you're not going to see too much big game hunting otherwise. We're looking at the same greens in South Texas, not too much popping up yet, no mushrooms to be spoken of. Moving into the Southwest, so we're looking at New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Southern California. February is looking a lot more sunshiny, although the nights are going to be cold, and animals generally are holding tight to limited resources this time of year. So they can generally be found kind of congregating in certain areas. We can see snow in some higher elevations, which pushes some animals out further down the mountain. In terms of fishing, trout are available in the tailwaters. They're often winter nymphing at the moment. Saltwater fishing in SoCal, we're looking at surf perch and rockfish. Make sure you're checking your closures on those. In terms of hunting, not too much open. We have coyotes and foxes, mountain lions, so a lot of carnivore hunting, a little bit of small game, rabbits and quail. In terms of foraging, we have desert greens, especially after rains, early nettles in Southern California, and lots of cool mustards and different things growing like that. Into the Rockies. So we're looking at kind of Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, a little bit of Nevada, and some of the interior California. We're looking at hardening conditions, kind of moving in towards the interior. February is still deep winter for these parts, and you're going to have to be reading your snow and your sign and everything to get into these spots to access. So you're not really covering quite as much ground as maybe in other parts in the year. Snowpack is really going to define that access, whether you can get into places or not. For fishing, we're looking at mostly ice fishing right now. Perch, walleye, lake trout. Not too much open water fishing. It's been a pretty cold winter. Lots of freeze. Tailwaters are probably the only place you can find any. In terms of hunting, we have predators open, coyotes, wolves were illegal, mountain lions. This is great time of year for tracking animals, as you can track through the snow. So anything kind of small game or predator, we're looking at great hunting opportunities. The elk and deer are on their winter range. Minimal movement at the moment. It's more about conservation. Keep that in mind when shed hunting this spring. Don't be pushing things around too much and let them kind of get their rest up. Not seeing too much in terms of foraging other than, your general kind of winter foraging, conifer teas and whatnot, but nothing too special popping up yet. We'll be seeing a lot more in the foraging sections in the coming months, I assure you. Moving up into the Pacific Northwest. We're talking about kind of Oregon, Washington, even a little bit of British Columbia here. Following that weather kind of back into the west, we're trading all that snowpack and iciness for rain. February is a really wet month, but it can be a pretty productive one in terms of fishing and foraging. We are going to see some snow inland where the rain kind of stays on the coast, and that can change pretty quickly if you're moving from coastal regions into the mountainous areas. So keep that in mind. In terms of fishing, we have steelhead in their peak winter runs right now. There's lots of shellfish available, razor clams, but make sure you're checking for domoic acid closures. So check online before going digging for clams. There's also mussels and oysters available right now. There's a great time to get all of those. In terms of hunting, not too much available. We have some coyotes open in some areas. Snowshoe hare were legal. A little bit of lake geese action going on in coastal BC. But not too much at all. In terms of foraging, we have some decent coastal foraging still open, mostly winter greens and different seaweeds on low tides, which is kind of a great time of year to do that. Moving away from the ocean and into the prairie and Midwest states. So here we're looking at kind of the Dakotas, Kansas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, some parts of Indiana, Michigan, Kentucky, kind of all around here. February across the prairies and Midwest is defined by ice and cold, as you're probably feeling right now, especially after the last blast that we got. So you should be having ice thickness and safety on your mind if you're doing any fishing at all. Ice is going to be stable in most regions, but I want you guys to be checking yourselves on the way out. Use your augers, check on your way out, make sure it is safe. In terms of ice fishing, we have lots of walleye, perch, pike, lake trout available in some places. Panfish are always consistent. It's a great time of year to be ice fishing. We also still have rabbit, squirrels, some predators like coyotes and fox open for hunting. Some of the light goose conservation order begins in late February. So talking about the Prairie states, snow geese will be beginning, and it's a great opportunity to get there and shoot a whole bunch of geese and get a big limit. We're trying to help conserve some of the areas up north in the Arctic where the overpopulation of snow geese are wreaking a lot of havoc. So this is a great time of year to get out to the prairies and do some snow goose hunting. In terms of foraging, there's not too much happening. Maybe some chaga, maybe some teas or stored roots, but there's not too much happening in terms of foraging. Everything is under the ice and snow. That's going to be pretty similar for the Northeast. We're talking about New York, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, even getting down a little bit into Maryland and DC a bit. We're going to be seeing a fair amount of cold, and we're going to be mostly focused on small game and late season predator work, the same as the rest of the country. So we have cold snow. Further south, we have a lot of big swings with freeze and thaw cycles. And like I said, that makes for unsafe ice. So make sure you're checking. There's lots of trout available in the tailwaters and all your general species available for ice fishing, including pike and walleye and panfish. In terms of hunting, we got small game like rabbits and squirrels, coyotes, fox, a little bit of New Jersey archery open for deer in February too. Nothing to speak of in terms of foraging other than, your chaga and your teas, like I said before. Checking out, lastly, Hawaii and Alaska, two very different places. It's worth touching on these two outliers because February looks very different from one place to the other. So in Hawaii, we have peak pelagic fishing. The reef fish are active. We got wild pigs and goats year round. There's lots of things opening up for deer. Lots of coastal edibles in terms of foraging, tropical fruits. Where Alaska is looking a little colder, a little more snowy. We have mostly ice fishing for lake trout and burbot. Some coastal fishing and crabbing going on. In terms of hunting, there's wolves and coyotes that are open and not too much foraging, except maybe for a little bit of seaweed. Nothing too active. Now getting into Canada. In East and Central, so we're talking from the East Coast, PEI, Newfoundland, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Ontario, and Quebec. Moving towards the Central, we're dealing with a lot of cold and a lot of snow and a lot of ice. So ice fishing is dominating the calendar. While predator season is a small game carrying most of the hunting interest, there's not much going on in terms of hunting. As you move west into the prairies and Rockies, we're seeing a little more of that predator hunting, but we're dealing with deeper snow, bigger landscapes, and fewer mistakes, and that's for sure. This could be a dangerous time of year for any outdoors people. Walleye, pike, perch, and lake trout are peaking right now. This is great ice fishing season. We have lots of ice up here. In terms of small game, mostly just down to snowshoe hare at the moment. Maybe rabbit in some places. We have coyotes and wolves, which are regional. Lynx, bobcat, and then cougars in the Rockies. Check your seasons. There's not too much happening in terms of migration, although the waterfowl return begins in late March, so look forward to that. No major mushrooms are active. There's some greens maybe in the most southern of climates. Not seeing too much, but we can be still making our pine needle teas and making our chaga teas and hoping for spring. That's it for the update for hunting, fishing, foraging, and weather patterns. But let's do a little food and kitchen note. Before we wrap everything up, I'd say it's worth talking about what people are actually eating this time of year, because February isn't just about novelty, it's more about follow-through. So we're talking about when freezers getting open and rifled through, those bones that you saved are getting used, meals that start to lean towards like slow warming food that really makes sense after a cold day outside, or even a warm day inside where that kind of stuff just really comforts you. If you've got ground game, February's peak chili, meat sauce, shepherd's pie, dumpling territory, things that reheat well and don't care if the power flickens out for a second, which happens where I live quite a bit. It's also good to get through some of that ground game because it doesn't last as long in the freezer as some of your full cuts. So it's good to get through that sooner. Maybe do another round of grinding midwinter. Shanks, necks, tougher cuts are also really shining right now. Braises, stews, pressure cooker meals. We're turning time into tenderness here. You're taking all these tougher kind of cuts and cooking them into submission and then having these beautiful kind of slow cooked meaty braises. Delicious. A lot of small game hunting happening right now. So that small game can show up as pot pies, curries, soups. It's kind of food that stretches your harvest, feeds you for more than one meal. There's ways to get one squirrel to feed a whole family. I've done it. Ravioli being the way that I did that. But you can really stretch some of these small game animals and make really delicious dinners with them. This is also the time of year when your preserved food kind of earns its keep. So those berries you froze from the early summer, you can use those in sauces. You can make liqueurs with them. You got all sorts of things you can do. Get into those pickles you made. I say open those jars without any ceremony. Remember just to eat it and enjoy it. Don't save it because you leave it languishing in the back of the pantry until next season. You got all these new berries or new mushrooms or whatever coming in. It's best to get those open and eat them up this time of year. And it's a great reminder of spring and summer sunshine and warmth when you do so. We've got all that covered on Harvest Nature. Everyday wild food recipes, perfect for the season. Look for your slow braises, your pot pies, your curries, your soups, your gravies. We have it all on there, so check that out. And that's going to do it for this month's Wild Harvest Report. If you're out there in February, stay patient, stay observant, and don't forget, sometimes the best part of the season isn't what you bring home, but what you notice along the way. Check your regs, respect your conditions, and we'll talk again next month.